Howdy! Over the past few weeks, a lot of you have been requesting that I collab with Samay Raina from India, the comedian that's basically made a massive wave of popularizing chess online, collabing with all sorts of amazing personalities and super grandmasters, and, well, Samay finally agreed to doing a collab with me and a bunch of other people. We're gonna play Among Us very soon, and I thought, you know, why not? I'm gonna make a video dedicating just some analysis, instructive game analysis, to Mr. BM himself. This is the only person on the entire website that just has one letter as a title. It's incredible. It's honestly incredible. So shout out to him. He's on a big grind. He's played 4,000 games of chess. Very inspirational. And I want to do a little bit of analysis on his games. Because, I don't know, because everybody wants me to do a collab with him. So this is my way of giving back and maybe making things fun for you guys. So the criteria for selecting these games was the fact that they had to be at least 5 minigames. And they had to be at least 20 moves, and his cap score had to be over 90. So he scored 90%. So I just wanted to show, you know, how he played from start to finish, his openings, his middle game, his end games. And the time control just had to be long enough that it wasn't, you know, silly stuff like 3 minutes. Anyway, let's get into it. I did also a game with white and a game with black. So Samay plays e4, and in particular, he plays the King's Gambit. He's a very brave guy. Plays King's Gambit. And knight c6 is not the most accurate move. But here, taking and playing d4 is also not the most accurate, because if you take, they're going to play queen h4. So he plays like this. And now d5. This is actually not the right order. You're supposed to play d5 on the second move of the gambit, like this. And this is considered kind of the main line. There's a lot of different, you know, positions here. And those of you that are confused, the engine doesn't really dictate correctly how the opening goes, especially in gambits. So d5, take, and now we see the problem is that now it's basically a Scandinavian, and this capture hasn't occurred yet. So queen back to d8, and bishop b5. So bishop b5 is an error. You need to just take this pawn, especially if you're going to be playing King's Gambit. Now, and I do like gambits. I like the Vienna. I like offbeat setups, especially against e4, e5. If you haven't seen my gambits video, check it out. And if the gambits video is not out yet because you're watching this in the past rather than the future, sorry. But I like how he plays. I think this is very good. But you have to also punish people who make mistakes. But he goes for a quick lead in development, and that makes a lot of sense. Now, again, the best thing to do is to grab this pawn or to take and then grab. He takes, and he takes. Very good. Bishop c5 is a good move by his opponent. And now Samay falls for a trap. d4 looks perfect, but it's not. And the reason d4 is wrong, his opponent actually didn't notice, is because his opponent was looking at this. He was looking at this threat. And what his opponent should have used here is something called danger levels. Rather than moving his bishop, he should have realized, how do I create a threat even stronger than the threat on my bishop? And that threat would have been bishop takes knight, attacking the queen. And the serious problem is that now I have two things attacking this. See, it says it's the best move. And after queen f3, black would play something like queen h4, queen d4, or just taking this in general, and have a slightly better position. But black played bishop to b4, and is just worse now. So castles, best move. Knight e7, bishop g5 is a great move. Castles, and now d5, fantastic move, playing on this pin. Queen d7, and d takes c6. Now, if bishop takes c3 was played in this position, you would take the bishop, and here's the issue. Now, this is the pressure. There's pressure on this guy. The queens see each other, so black would be losing material here no matter what. d5 is a fantastic move. It's the only way to make progress. You know, if Samay had played something like queen d2 here, he would have had a slightly better position, but black would have gotten out of the pin, consolidated with the rooks, and pressured on the center. Instead, Samay played an aggressive move, realizing that he's got the pin superior here on the knight. So, and his opponent just played queen d7, and, well, suffered the loss of material. Now, you can play this position in a few ways. You can take to simplify, and he does do that. And knight to d5 is, again, excellent, going for this. Solidifying with the queen. Queen gives a check, king moves. And now you are pinned, but don't freak out because you can take with check. Get your queen out of the way. Basically a perfect game from start to finish. Rook d1, fantastic move, simplifying. right? Rook e8, queen b5. Well, like queen b5. I mean, I don't know if it's the best move. There's options. It's honestly, it might be, at this level, it might be probably the best move that he could have played. I would maybe just make a luft for the king so that there's no back rank problems. And then I would try to get my rook down here. You can't. And that's why a move like this comes in handy. Also, good as queen d3 going for a queen trade. His opponent plays well, so now he goes back to d3. And he plays basically a perfect game. Here, his opponent just resigns. And not just resigns, did resign. So, very nice game. I mean, this shows how in the opening you can surprise a guy. You have to still punish their mistakes, but it shows that even a 1430 doesn't know what to do against the king's gambit. I personally like f4 after I throw in knight c3. I feel like there's a lot of king's gambits that are a bit too dangerous, but I like this game quite a bit. The next game wasn't a beatdown from the opening. He actually had the black pieces. Let me go back a few moves. So he had the black pieces. We'll look at it from his perspective. It was e4 and looks like he plays c5. So the Sicilian, knight c6, and knight c3. Well, we're actually going to see how here, you know, white can play a lot of different things. White can play the Rossalimo. White can play, you know, the open Sicilian. White can play c3 and d4. And I guess Samay plays like this because the world champ plays like this. Now, knight f6 isn't a great move, I don't think. Like, it's a little bit better immediately to go e5 so that you can go d4, but it's fine. And actually, now we have a mainline position. So this is basically the mainline Sveshnikov. So d4, take, knight c3, sorry, knight f6, knight c3. And it's the same exact position that happened in the game, but with a different move order. So e5, knight c6. This used to be, I think this is some sort of theory, but white is supposed to go for the main line. Samay plays a great move. But here Samay plays a slight inaccuracy. He rushes, and this looks like a very natural move because you support it, right? So why wouldn't you just expand in the center? So white gets a pretty sizable advantage because white can punish this setup very quickly. White can just take. And if you take, you have this weird diagonal, which is wide open. And if white goes bishop b5, it's really hard for you to actually defend your entire position. So you can play bishop d7, and then after something like take, the second bishop will arrive. And white is just too quick at dismantling your position. Like, white is pressuring you way too much. Right? So white has to kind of like fly in here with these pieces, and rook d1 is possible, and castling queenside is possible, and you're a little bit slow. But white didn't play that. And that's why actually in the Sicilian, it's a little bit better rather than playing d5 to like play bishop e7 or bishop c5 or bishop b4 and castling and only then going for d5. That's generally the best. But h3 is, I mean, what is h3, right? So h3 is not a good move. d4, knight e2, and now bishop to e7. Now I wonder, what does the engine not like here? So this is actually a very practical teaching moment. You see how the engine is saying that you made an inaccuracy with bishop to e7? Do you realize what the top engine move here is? This is a very instructive moment. That's why you shouldn't always trust computers. The engine is trying to play h5. Do you understand why this is the best move? It's ridiculous why it's the best move. If white continues with development like knight to g3, you will play h4. This will then clamp the knight down, and the knight cannot come forward. If the knight comes forward, then you will play g6 and you will trap the knight. If the knight goes back to e2, you just have an overwhelming space advantage, so you play bishop to a6. And then another idea is, if white goes like g3, for example, you have queen to b6, bishop to g2, and bishop to a6. And all this is doing is clamping down on this side of the board. That's what that does. That's what the engine's trying to tell you. That h5 just, you know, disallows your opponent from rotating the knight this way. And so with that, the knight is stuck on e2 and is very, very passive. Right? So, and it's saying -2. And so when you go back and analyze a game, right, you can't fault yourself for not playing the move h5. Okay? Right, so bishop to... Now, you can fault yourself for playing the move bishop to b7. That's not a great move. That's not a great move, bishop to b7. You need to castle. I mean, bishop, I get why he's doing it, but castle first. Okay? This is why it's a bad move, because now white plops the knight into f5. And when you have to deal with a knight like this close to your king, it's a serious problem. And white immediately, kind of justifies this knight's positioning, doesn't castle, and plays queen g3. And now we have some serious problems for Samay, who plays knight h5, which is a move that stops mate, but it doesn't actually cover the e5 pawn. And white, in that case, should have just taken on e5, which would have attacked the bishop on e7 with two pieces. This would have been pressure, this would have been pressure. And by the way, I can also throw in the move g4. Right? So that would have been the issue there. And actually, this is already a very dangerous position. Knight takes e7, threatens to win this. Very serious problem. And so, queen g4 happened, which obviously doesn't take the pawn on e5, and just hits the knight on h5. So now you have to play the only move to not lose. g6, bishop h6, because this isn't actually threatening because of the pin. The rook is under attack. Rook should have went to e8, but Samay throws in the move knight to f6. Not a bad move. Again, danger levels. Right, hits the queen. Queen back to g3 isn't an accuracy. Supposedly the best move here was to... oh, this is very nice. This is a very nice combination from white. So danger levels. One guy hits the rook. Another guy hits the queen. Another guy hits the king. And then hits the queen also. So Samay would have lost material with this very nice combination. That would have been a problem. But he missed it. I think he missed it. And so instead, he moved his queen. And here, Samay did his best Anish Giri impression by trying to offer a repetition of moves. And white said, no, thank you, but missed the move. White saw that the queen was hanging, but forgot that he could take the rook, right? So he goes here. Now, of course, Samay gets out of the way, but this is still very dangerous. And again, white should put pressure here. And he does that. And c4, Samay, the big gangster, says, I don't want to play king g7. I want to counterattack you. I want to counterattack you. And bishop f6, I have queen b4 check. Look at that move, opening the door for the counterattack and realizing that he is actually not in danger. Queen h6 is not a mate threat because the queen always has backwards access to f8. Very, very nice move. Creating counterplay, opens the door, finds the queen before check, and brings it right back. And now, the endgame that happens, white just runs out of steam. White is worse here, and white is worse here because he has a very, very, very easily targeted weakness. And what is the best move here for black? The best plan for black? Besides bishop to a6, it has to be this. Kicking out the bishop and taking control of the file. And by kicking out the bishop, he will have control of the file with both of his rooks. Now that's not... he didn't have to play f5, but he did it as a result of g3. Notice Samay doesn't get... he doesn't get... I mean, Samay... I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, by the way. Tell me if I'm not. But he could have gotten tunnel vision, and I see the engines trying to say it's the best move, but he punishes the opening of this diagonal with the move g3 by playing f5, and white just blunders. White's center completely collapses, and now a beautiful move. Danger levels... gets the rook in there with a check. The king is forced to the back rank, and now the game is over because you take. And, well, white tries to offer a trade, but after takes, white resigned. Because bishop c1, bishop h1. And if white had played something like rook g1 or something, you're probably winning in a variety of ways. The easiest is just to push with your pawns. Don't get, yeah, and you see, don't get wrapped up in all these checks. There's no need to give a check unless it's mate. Because the king is just going to create a little barrier. You know, like this. See, look how quickly you can throw away advantage. Just e4, e3, d3, walk it down the board. So, you know, I did a little research and I felt like these were two of Samay's best games. c4 was a brilliant move, creating counterplay. The first game was clean and crisp, all three phases of the game. It never got to the end game. He just won it in the middle game. This one, very nice. Absorbed the pressure. Slightly inaccurate in the opening. That's okay. You learn from that. But this one was just really nice. Anyway, I figured I would show two of his games to respect his chess grind. He's played over 4,000 games. And just to let you guys all know that the collab is coming, whether it's chess at some point later in the future. We have yet to see if that will happen, but definitely an Among Us lobby. Hikaru, Anish, Vidit, Srinath wants to play, so gonna be fun. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next video.